Okay, we're going to cheat solve on some quadratics to find some zeros of quadratic equations using Desmos and not doing anything with pencil and paper. So that's the goal here. So let's look at an example from the EOC study guides. Here we have one right in this area. Bring it out and get it bigger here. Okay, where it says, what are the zeros of the function represented by the quadratic expression given? Now, the zeros are the solutions to when you set that expression equal to 0. Okay, so 2x squared plus x minus 3. So what I'm going to do is go to Desmos here and type it in. Okay, so I'm going to go to 2x squared plus x minus 3. And Desmos naturally graphs that for you. The zeros are simply when y is 0. Well, y is 0 when you're on the x-axis. So that would be here at negative 1.5 and here at positive 1. So let's look back at the question. All right, so as you can see, the first two have a positive 1 here and here. So looking at our graph, it's got to be a positive 1. Okay, so that would eliminate C and D. The question is it negative 3/2 or is it negative 2/3? Well, your math sense may tell you here which one it is just by looking at that 0.5. But if you weren't sure, you could go in here and say, well, let's try negative 2/3. Negative 2 divided by 3, no, that's not negative 1.5. But if I do negative 3 divided by 2, there's your negative 1.5. Okay. So the correct answer will be 1 and negative 1.5, which is the same thing as negative 3/2. So 1 and negative 3/2. So the correct answer would be A in this situation. Okay. Let's look at a separate example. Okay. Here's one. It says, what is the vertex of this given equation? Let's just zoom in there. What's the vertex of f of x equals x squared plus 10x minus 9? Well, if I type that in, x squared plus 10x minus 9, okay, we no longer need these things. All right. And I'm going to put y equals in there with it. Okay, and you can see we have a parabola. The vertex, this time, that has nothing to do with your x-intercepts, which are here and here. It has everything to do with this number here, which is negative 5 and negative 34. All right, so looking back at our answer choices, here it is, negative 5, negative 34. All right. Another one, it says, which of these is a result of completing this square? Now, you can go through the algebra here if you'd like, or we could just type it in, x squared plus 8x minus 30, and observe that, and then just type in each answer choice. So I'll start with A. X plus 4 quantity squared minus 30. It's not the same. So let's now go to B. Same thing except it says minus 46 instead. Okay, and since those two line up, then you know that B is the correct answer. So you can see some ways that you can use to kind of cheat, so to speak. You're not really cheating, you're just using your resources on the EOC to solve these. And again, this is the Algebra 1 Georgia end of course test question bank here. So I don't want you to think I made these questions up. I'm just using Georgia's questions. But you can see a way that you can solve these using Desmos. Let me see if I can find one other one down here. Of course, the resource can be found just by Googling it. Okay, let's see if we can find some others. Down here. Okay, here we go. So what are the solutions? Now these are asked just a little bit differently. 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. It doesn't say zeros, it just says solutions, but that is the same thing. Zeros are just solutions when set equal to 0. So here they just set them equal to 0, and they just skip the word zeros. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. Okay, 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. Again, we're asking for solutions here. The solutions have nothing to do with the vertex. It has everything to do with x-intercepts. So I just simply click here and here, and quite simply the correct answer is -2 and 3. So it'll be C. Now I could have just used algebra there by factoring out a 2 and factoring, and that's not that hard to do, but it's much simpler if you have access to the graph. Let's do one more. Number 2 there, 6x squared minus x minus 40. 6x squared minus x minus 40, again, is asking for solutions, right? What are the solutions? The same question. So I'm going to click -2.5 and 2.667. Now if you look at your answer choices here, you see neither of those. Okay, we do observe that one is negative and one is positive, so that would eliminate answer choice A and answer choice C, because those are both negative and both positive respectively. But on the graph, we have one of each. So it's either B or D for that reason. We just got to figure out which one's 8/3 and which one's 5/2. Again, your math sense may tell you that the one that ends in 0.5 has got to be your half, but let's just make sure. So I'm going down here, 5 divided by 2. That is 2.5. Okay. So that means your 5/2 would have to be negative. Why did I type in 5/2? Well, that's what the question told me. So the expectation is you're doing these with multiple choice questions. Okay, you're kind of using your answer choices and your resources to kind of do this in a back way and not necessarily doing it straightforwardly. But this would have to be D, because B has the other way around, would have the positive there. All right, so again, we're using a graph to help